that'll help you there. At home, I'm not using like a small home office type deal. What I actually have is a cable modem with the Ethernet port plugged into the back of the Linux box, and that's my router. And it's running Debian 6 right now. And it's got 4 gigs of RAM because I have way too many interesting things happening in that machine. Firmware updates, other than that, there are going to be, there are websites that you can go to. I believe 6XS is one of them. They have a nice forum. Is this going to damage the whiteboard?
Is that SIX or?
Yeah.
Here, let me go get you another.
Okay, thanks.
Was that SIX or?
SIXXS.
Okay.
There's not a good way to say that.
.com, .net?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Just Google it.
I'll find that.
.net, 6xs.net. They have forums that you can use. Yep, that would be it. Also, I believe Hurricane Electric has forums as well that you can go to. And what you'll find at both 6XS and Hurricane Electric's forums are a bunch of people who are very interested in IPv6. I mean, there's a reason that I'm into this before most people. It's because I'm interested. So we have. So what you'll do is, if anything happens regarding IPv6, that's going to be one of the first places you'll hear about it or you'll be able to ask about it. So that's going to be a. If I can't answer your questions, somebody there can. There's also IRC. I go to pound IPv6 on Freedom. That's where I've been hanging out for about 8 months now. Well, the people who hang out in there, most of them are actual network operators with not an incredible amount of patience for incredibly stupid questions. Incredibly stupid question. An example of an incredibly stupid question would be anything that you are already either given the answer to or directed to the particular documentation for. Otherwise, they're
and
very
you didn't bother to read.
Yeah, they're very interested in helping people if they have comprehension issues, or if as long as they're trying to get things working. And understand what stuff's going on, they're very much interested in teaching you to fish. Of course, as opposed to getting the fish for you. So yeah, there's Hurricane Electric. Oh, this is a very nice one.
Teacher was actually in the room and I said, which one works?
6. Hurricane, and again, Hurricane Electric's, both 6XS and Hurricane Electric offer free tunnels. I haven't used 6XS's and I don't remember why.
What's required on your end to get a tunnel? Do you have to have a static V4 address?
Like I said, I'm using Comcast. So I don't get a static V4 address. But if the address stays stable long enough, and it kind of looks like I do. So that functions to an extent. I mean, on Hurricane Electric's website, there's an area where you need to tell them, okay, this is what my IPv4 address is, and that's how they make sure that they've opened a tunnel for you and not just anybody who happens to be wanting to run on the internet. Now, you can actually update that form dynamically using a script, and most of the people I know who use those tunnels have that set up if they're stuck on dynamically associated or dynamically given IPs.
So I have 5 addresses here. If I were to get a tunnel from Hurricane Electric, I could point that tunnel at the one that's pointed to my gateway.
Sure.
Okay. So now all my IPv4 is still going to work,
Yeah.
and I'll also have IPv6.
That's correct. Now, the IPv6 over IPv4 tunnels, they operate, well, at least the ones from Hurricane Electric. Like I said, I haven't used 6XS's and I don't know the specifics. The ones from Hurricane Electric use something called Protocol 41. So you have your IPv4 packet, and then normally you put TCP, UDP, or ICMP on top of that. Each of those protocols have their own number. which sits somewhere in your IP packet, so that the machine knows what the next segment of data actually corresponds to. When that number says 41, it knows that there's an IPv6 IP packet coming up next. So you can put in have the Hurricane Electric system talk to your gateway IP. You just need to make sure that you whitelist protocol 41, at least as coming from their tunnel service, and you need to configure your gateway system to interpret those packets and it'll pop up as well. Actually, on my home system, I had it I gave that tunnel interface its own name. You can give it whatever name you want, depending on how you use IP or ifconfig. Well, you can even, if you said you have 5 IPs, you can point their tunnel provider at any of those IPs. You just need to make sure that the stuff with protocol 41 gets passed on to the correct machine. Let's see. But yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah. I don't know how I'd make that work on an Utopia router though. I don't think the Utopia router has a built-in facility.
You'd have to pass it off to another router that would do the IPv6.
Yeah.
And there's no necessity for your IPv4 router to also be your IPv6 router. If this stuff, if I've gotten this working properly, I could have given your entire network IPv6 connectivity without being any of your IPv4 routers. Also, you'd have to trust that my firewall is set up properly so that nobody would come in without somebody else going out first.
Yeah, that you weren't all of a sudden creating a giant backdoor.
That's something that you probably should be thinking about as a network operator.
It's just scary having every machine in your network being publicly routable. I don't like it.
You don't have to do it that way. You wondered about the RFC19 address space, or what the analog to that was. That's called UFA. And what that is that's kind of like a site local address. You choose your own prefix. It begins with a number I can't recall, but you don't. You can ensure that all of your hosts only have addresses within your UFA space. UFA space is not globally routable, and all of them would have to go through.
So that's still basically then NAT with non-routable space for V6.
If you want to do it that way, nothing stops you. A lot of network operators will want to strangle you, but nothing stops you. And one of the big advantages of having globally routable endpoints is you're no longer stuck using a client-server model. You don't have to have everything bounce off of one of Amazon's servers, or one of Google's servers, or one of Skype's servers even. If you want to be able to have a direct conversation between two different machines using SIP phones.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it depends on environment too, because like in this room here, this is the computer lab, except for some of my servers fell off the wall the other day. But anyway, all these machines are running Windows 2000 as a thin client. I eliminated Explorer.exe and they boot right into MSTSC. Okay. And then they connect to the RDP servers up there on the wall.
Right.
And that's what delivers the desktop. So they're Windows 2000, but those are Windows 7.
Okay. The Windows 2000 boxes are not going to do IPv6.
Exactly.
Period.
So, in that type of an environment, I'm just done.
Well, you're running thin clients, but your RDP server that can run IPv6.
Yes, it could.
And
But it would have to run both because the thin clients would have to be connected to it via IP4.
And that's called a dual stack environment, where a machine has both IPv4 and IPv6 connectivity, and that's the recommended configuration right now. Generally speaking, you don't want to be IPv4 only or IPv6 only.